need support staff to clear the room. Stand up and walk, now.
Hello, and welcome to The Watch. My name is Chris Ryan. I am an editor at TheRinger.com. And joining me in the studio, he wants his body to do it, not a pill. It's Andy Greenwald! Did you get to that scene in Lioness? I bet you did. I bet you did.
I did. I did.
What's up, everybody? It is Thursday in the United States of America. I'm in a good mood this last pod of the week.
Great.
Grinded a few out this week, but there's nothing like coming home.
I think you are as exultant today as the New York Times is. A week when the left is in disarray.
the collapse.
So much concern.
We're reading different periodicals these days, I think.
Well, I read the New York Times, but only the version that exists in Lioness, which I cannot wait to talk to you about.
Honestly, dude, it's not that much different.
Well.
Today, Andy, as we alluded to, we will talk about broadly the first episode of Lioness because I think Andy may have grabbed the parachute a little.
What do they call it in MMA in the octagon when they're out?
I think you had somebody exfil you. Let's just put it that way.
I dreamed of getting black bagged 8 minutes in. It would have been a relief.
We are also going to talk a little bit about the Shards. We're going to talk more extensively about Furious up through episode 5. Episode 6 comes out on Sunday, as does Lanterns.
Yeah, exciting.
And we have a little bit of a prelude to that show because there's a lot of interesting reporting going on. I know we've been banging the superhero drum this last week and a half, but
yeah,
a lot of interesting reporting going on around the state of superhero television, which is sort of our ballywick here.
I thought when you said a prelude to Lanterns, you were going to talk about the glories of Alan Scott, the Golden Age Green Lantern, who carried a little green lantern.
I gotta admit to you, I just know nothing about the Green Lantern.
I'm just dazzling you right now.
And then I had a couple other news things for you. I noticed that you have
drinks.
Your trusty Task water bottle.
Yeah.
You've got a green tea out.
Yeah. This is the Juliet Littman School of Beverages, if I remember correctly.
Are you nursing something here?
A grudge?
Like a hangover?
No. I just wanted. I did have a cocktail yesterday, and you never know where that's going to go with me. But But I don't think that's exciting top of the pod content. We could save it for what's the opposite of After Dark? Harsh Light.
Happy hour.
That new segment.
Yeah.
No. I just was like, you know what? I've had my coffee. Maybe we'll have a gentler caffeine during this portion of the pod.
It's clean energy. Green tea is clean energy.
Don't tell Taylor Sheridan that. He'll ban that shit. Can I just do one thing, though? Because I feel like we're doing a weird thing with the show The Agency that we're big fans of, where we are kind of concern trolling and like engaging with some sort of speculative gossip about the future of the show based on like whispers and talk around town. But I want to say two things. One, we don't actually know anything. And I will say that based on my very little
Did you
knowing
get a
things.
brushback pitch from somebody?
No, the opposite.
Okay.
I'm brushing my own pitch back.
Okay.
Is that what they say? I better have more green tea. I'll just do the Windhorse fingers. I think that it's looking good from what I understand. I think that The Agency coming back is looking good.
Should we start doing this more?
Yes, because here's the other thing. I would love a brushback pitch. I am actually going to say to whatever camera, does The Agency have a press team? Are there publicists working for the show?
They do.
Okay.
Your refusal to engage with the great corporation that David Ellison has built, that's up to you.
That was before his op-ed.
I happen to know several people working in the Paramount press shop, and they're lovely.
And you know what they do? They represent both sides.
They're sending me Lioness season 5.
Anyway, I was just saying, I do feel like there is a small subsection of the fandom of this podcast who also like The Agency, who are like, my head's spinning listening to these guys.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fine.
I think it sounds like it's pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
That's good.
What's not pointed in the right direction is the great experiment where we're going to make a bunch of superhero television to buttress the superhero blockbusters
Crushing.
that we're going to be populating our movie theaters. You know, basically at the start of the streaming wars and as Disney threw its hat in the ring and as HBO Max started to take on more Warner Brothers and DC properties, we had this grand plan laid out for us that Lucasfilm and Marvel, I wouldn't classify Lucasfilm as superhero, but broadly speaking, genre IP was going to flit between small screen and big, you know, and this obviously also emerged at a time where I think Hollywood was reconsidering its relationship to the theatrical experience in general because of COVID.
And assuming trend lines were fixed, right? That
Yes.
if the theatrical experience was clearly diminishing, or at least returns were diminishing, then they needed to find that income elsewhere, or to
Yes.
engage with audiences elsewhere where they are.
And now we arrive at this moment where a superhero movie, a comic book film, is likely to be one of the biggest that's just been released, is likely to be one of the biggest films, not of the year, of all time, in Spider-Man Brand New Day. That movie probably has increased enthusiasm for Avengers Doomsday, I would say.
Maybe.
Event superhero movies, I
Yeah.
think, still can be like incredible
Right.
ticket drivers. And on the flip of that, when you look around on your streaming services that you were told you had to have if you wanted to keep current with Phase 6 or the expanding DCU or whatever, it's crickets. It's dust. Dust bunnies? Is that what those things? What are the ones that... Oh, tumbleweeds. It's tumbleweeds.
Real man of the people here. Just
I've seen Big Lebowski. I know it's tumbleweeds. And I just think this is such a fascinating moment. So Lanterns is coming on Sunday from a troika of incredible writers, from Damon Lindelof, Chris Mundy, and Tom King. It also has the sort of umbrella kind of seal of approval from James Gunn and Peter Safran, who run DC for Warner Brothers. There's an amazing story, kind of told in a couple of different outlets this week, about the genesis of this project and how long Greg Berlanti had been working on it and how many different iterations it has gone through over the last 7 years to get it to screen. But when you look at this reporting, it's also talking about how they're pruning a lot of the stuff that
the other stuff
we were told was coming. So for instance, DC is no longer making the Waller Show, which would have been the Viola Davis led series, Suicide Squad spinoff kind of. They're no longer making Paradise Lost, which was supposed to be a Wonder Woman prequel series.
Had you been following that? Was that something you were aware of prior to this announcement? Right.
They are making a Skylar Gisondo led Jimmy Olsen show, which I think is a very smart execution of an idea where the American Vandal guys are making
this is what I heard.
Kind of docudrama comedy about Jimmy.
With Gorilla Grodd or something?
Whoever's in it. It's just, it's like an incredibly smart use of the style of filmmaking that those American Vandal guys do. On the Marvel side of things, there's Vision Quest, the Paul Bettany show, which is, seemingly been in the works or done or in motion for quite some time, at least since the end of WandaVision.
Right.
And then if you look around at various websites, it's kind of sounds like Marvel TV is going to turn into YA and animated. With some exceptions, there was a Punisher special earlier in the year. I'm sure that there will be some other live action stuff in eventually, but things like Champions and Strange Academy, which Champions is kind of like a Young Avengers sort of thing.
Gone.
I think.
Well, I mean, don't make me do this.
Do it.
Don't make me do
Have
this.
another sip of green tea. I mean, get involved in this podcast.
Okay, well, Young Avengers was the Young Avengers, but Champions was a off-rebooted, kind of barely remembered LA-based super team. So I think that would be like us, Nithya Raman, other sort of left-leaning council members, and we tackle the unhoused issue here. That's what we do.
Yeah, and public transportation. They have animated stuff like Marvel Zombies, X-Men 97, the second season.
Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which is quite good.
Spider-Man. I personally think it would be cool if they did more Werewolf by Night style experiments, or 3-episode Sherlock-esque special event seasons.
Say what else you want.
What else do I want?
You want another Punisher kills an entire borough of New York special.
I can neither confirm nor deny that happened.
Did the Paramount publicist send you that too? They just had it worked up with Claude?
There's not a tremendous amount that I saw in the Lucasfilm chamber in terms of being developed for TV. It's like Ahsoka season 2. I'm not sure if the Mandalorian movie killed Mando the show.
Maybe. I mean, I think... Do you know what the saddest sight was, honestly? Someone that I really love, respect, and always check for in his projects was like Ewan McGregor on the red carpet for the dinosaur movie.
End of Oak Street.
Being like,
quite good.
Asking if there's going to be an Obi-Wan season 2. And he's just like, oh, Hayden and I are so ready for it. There's got to be more adventures. And I'm like, come on, man.
He's like, I have 10 years until I'm Alec Guinness's age.
Right.
So we have 10 years
so
to make
presumably,
this.
So the idea is that he wasn't just making sourdough that whole time and aging in the harsh sun, which skincare now makes me understand that transition faster.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's more likely.
Yeah. I wonder whether or not, to make this more broadly interesting to people rather than just like Art is Champions going to be, as good as we hope. I do wonder whether or not this move away from developing your own IP and creating like TV-based shared universes and stuff, like regardless of whether you enjoyed it in 2022 or not,
right?
Whether this signals like a broader move by a lot of these streamers to turn into not open source platforms, but like both buyers and dealers.
Well, there are a lot of industry trends to pick up here.
Yeah.
A little housekeeping. Vision Quest is premiering in October before Doomsday. It is shot. Do you know that it features the return of James Spader as Ultron?
I didn't.
How psyched are you? 1 to 10. I mean, live reaction. I know there was a big reaction that went viral when you were told that Jaylen Brown was now a Sixer. Spader is back. Go, Kai, get ready. Frame it up.
Has James Spader been in a film since Ultron?
Do you think intentionally? Do you think he's been blacklisted, or was he like, it can't get any better than this?
Well, he was on Blacklist. Did you mean to have that pun?
Of course I did.
What are some of the big trends?
So Vision Quest is happening, and I do think that you can see in just anecdotally, like when Marvel is still trying the last gasp of being like, to really appreciate Doomsday, you have to watch both seasons of Loki and Agatha All Along and Vision Quest, and people are like, respectfully, no, I don't.
Yeah.
That is definitely the end of something. I think that you in terms of before we get into the bigger trends, like we didn't even get a chance to talk about it because I think news broke when we were recording one of our advance pods for last week. But Disney canceled Wonder Man season 2, and I find that whole thing genuinely
despite Yahya Abdul-Mateen's
Emmy nomination. I find that whole thing infuriating, to be honest. Like both because the first season was wonderful and organically, creatively good and had a wonderful response and actually had some industry response, which used to be something that people used as a benchmark for continued success.
Mm-hmm.
But I also found it really, really dispiriting just in terms of how cavalier these massive corporations and tech overlords are about creative work, because this is a show, as we talked about, was in development for years, that they began shooting it as the strike hit in 2023. Somehow it survived, and they finished it, and they finally aired it in just a dump in January. And then I have no knowledge of the inside of that building, but it does seem like at least some of the higher ups at Marvel and Disney were kind of shocked that people really liked it. Like they didn't understand what they had. So what happened subsequently was kind of a scramble to be like, no, we're very proud of this and we're going to make more of it. And they got a renewal. They didn't get a renewal in a normal renewal window, but they got one. And you have Sir Ben Kingsley and you have Yahya Abdul-Mateen thrilled to come back. You have the creator, Andrew Guest, who came on the show to talk about it, writing a fantastic season 2 script and gathering a room and getting ready to go. And then they decide to cancel it for financial reasons. It's just like, you could have done that in January. It's just mismanagement. And even if it does align with what you're speaking to, which is this larger trend that they aren't going to be doing shows like this anymore, do you fucking know how hard it is to get a show that is good?
Mm-hmm.
Just to get a show that is good.
I don't think they care about shows that are good.
I think that they do not on a fundamental level, especially if it does not align.
I think
with,
it's a nice byproduct of shows if they're good and loved. Like
now, you could
specifically
also
WandaVision, for instance, was one that I think was taken quite seriously. Right?
Well, right, but the first and last shows that they made basically were taken quite seriously, and in between, they veered for various reasons very, very far away from the North Star of what any healthy creative process should be, which is this script is undeniably good. or this is a lightning in a bottle moment and we must try our best to bring it to the screen. Instead, it has been a bunch of years of really like back-assward kind of development of let's raid the library for potential IP exploration. Let's just fill the chamber with all of the story spackle that doesn't fit into the movie catalog because, oh my God, Sam Jackson will do a TV show? Sure, let's do a TV show for him too. It's backward thinking up and down. If this had been the plan from the beginning, which is if we have a wonderful idea for a TV show, we will consider it. But we are not committed to making 10 of these and 3 of these every year, the 3 of these being movies, I guess.
There's going to be these further reading assignments for these phases that we've sort of instituted and all that stuff for Marvel.
Part of that is the trend over the last decade or so to float your publicly traded company and movie studio based on potential future earnings. So you announce that there's an Avengers movie coming in 2027, and then you just point everything towards that, and then the bill comes due later, which is also, by the way, how I managed to come in second in the Lakers bidding yesterday. I just moved a lot of stuff around and got really, really creative with it.
That's what Mark Walter was doing.
Listen, don't knock the hustle. Which trend do we want to go into next?
Well, I wanted to talk about the idea that even Disney is talking about being a place where you can subscribe to other channels through Disney Plus, and all of these services now are going to be in a race to be like, we want to be the place that you spend $40 a month.
Yes.
So like right now, for instance, I think if you have Netflix and let's say you have Netflix and like you've got Netflix for your mom or something like that, like because you're like, just don't worry about it, mom. I'll pay it and you can just sign in. I think you have to get like the extended family tier or whatever it is. And if you want it in HD 4K or if you want it in like 4K streaming, I think it's close to $37 a month or something like that. Like it's getting up there. This is what we had always kind of talked about, was that these things are going to get introduced and it's going to be like $9.99 a month to watch everything on Disney's library.
I believe Disney launched at $4.99.
Yeah. And so now incrementally over and over again.
Which is also how Crack launched as well.
But you will hit a breaking point for people and they will start going around and being like, well, I need Amazon Prime because I have Prime or whatever.
Well, the other thing
I don't need this and I don't need that.
The other thing that they do that is just normal is the churn. Like, I only need it to watch this show and then I cancel it.
But they're making it so that is not as easy to do. Yes. Not only contractually or whatever, but they're also making it so that if you go and you use Disney or Amazon or Hulu or whatever it is to also watch live sports or also watch Stars because you want to watch Outland or something like that, it starts to become more of a cable box than it is like a closed loop. This is, you have to come to Disney Plus because we have all of your Marvel stuff and more because we're constantly making new Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I think that there was a really interesting conversation on Matt Bellany's podcast, The Town, last week with a Wells Fargo analyst named Stephen Cahill, who was like, I think Disney should get out of the streaming business.
Yeah.
And they are pot committed at this point. But I thought it was an interesting argument because what he did, not only did he say, like, think about how much money they would make by just being like Sony still and just selling their stuff to the highest bidder, and so that Marvel movies would be on Netflix or wherever, and they could be a content creator, which is what they are good at and what they historically have been good at. But the other point that was interesting was that a lot of these streaming services were launched in an era where Netflix's dominance was so not just assumed, but such an existential threat to their companies that they felt like they needed to retreat, pull back their troops, and shore up their defenses. And the reality is that not that Netflix is fallible, but that there is an ecosystem that can support multiple streaming services. And so, so there's a different thought process that needs to go into cost and spending versus return. And the point that he made, which we don't talk about enough, because we usually when we talk about Netflix, we're talking about the Netflix shows that we like Adolescence. We aren't really talking about the broader shift that has not saved the service, but transformed the service. And it's, yes, they still spend millions, billions of dollars producing content every year, but a lot of what they produce is The Floor is Lava and Is It Cake. And they do that in many countries, and that it costs a lot.
You should fire on Netflix because what they produce is a ton of true crime, and what they produce is a ton of reality, and what they produce is a ton of live events. Like, it's like we can do the gourmet cheeseburger thing if we want, but like they are churning stuff out at a level that like you would be shocked
And the
at.
insane thing about the commitment to streaming that Disney made, that I'm sure some people were on the rampart screaming about, but was that Disney's brand is imagination and creativity and increasingly spectacle, right? It's not just the Marvel movies that cost upwards of $200 million to make and to put into theaters. Pixar movies cost close to that too, just for because of their insanely grinding creative process and then actually animating the things. So to go into the TV market and say the things you get on the big screen, you're also going to get on TV, means you're also spending $200 million for an 8-episode television show, which is insane, especially if that television show is Secret Invasion.
Yes.
So it is a dangerous arms race that they were not prepared to stay in.
It's the first time I've seen the flywheel break. The flywheel is the legendary Walt Disney idea of like, basically the Imagineers come up with a cool set of characters and story, and then it becomes a movie, and then it becomes a ride, and people get to buy merchandise for it, and like you keep going around. And like in this era, the streaming service should make sense because Disney used to control the market on their own home video releases in a way that was really Marlo Stanfield-esque.
That's Bob Chapek's music.
But that was his shit. But that was like, we will take Cinderella off the shelves in 60 days, and then it won't be back for years.
Yep.
So buy it now if you want to have this magical experience in your home. And now it's like, that shit is just all in the streaming service. And I think that they encountered something where like they had to keep feeding it. And now it's because they fed it, it's not as special.
Well, that's true. I mean, I think you're approaching it from like a scarcity standpoint, which is true. It's also true in terms of diminishing creative returns.
For sure.
Which also then hurt their bread and butter business, which is theatrical release. So I think all of this is to say, this is a logical business retrenchment. Like the cartoons work, they service a different audience, and they also provide a kind of collective enthusiasm simmer for other projects. Like I'm sure they have data that would support this claim, but like the X-Men 97 cartoon has triggered some nostalgia and some excitement in the same cohort that needs to go to the multiplex to see the X-Men movie
How
in a
long
year
have
and
you
a
been
half.
recording for, by the way?
25 minutes.
And you have not apologized for your misinformation about Charles Melton.
Okay, I didn't know we were going to do this right now. This is how you get me. This is, I believe, the same interviewing technique Martin
Charles
Bashir
Melton
used.
turned down X-Men, and you say what?
I say it's just a shame. First of all, I mourn any time.
You were so certain.
I mourn any time that two sides can't find common ground. Okay, that is my number one priority in this business and in life. I guess what I want to know, Chris, is who blinked. You know, did Disney blink at the thought of having a generationally talented and good-looking guy covered in blue fur for a decade? Or did our guy Charlie Melton say, you know what, there are better things to do than sit in a chair or have like ping pong balls all over me for
9 years.
For 9 years.
Yeah.
I mean, it is also, thanks for giving me a chance to talk about this, really. I appreciate it. It's a weird part. I mean, Beast is a weird part.
He's got an arc.
He has many. You know, they've been turning him villainous more recently. How do you feel about that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Do you ever watch the show The Beast in Me? With
Claire Danes?
That's not the one I'm talking about. It's a Disney cartoon. No. So from first of all, the mantle from Kelsey Grammer to Nicholas Hoult to question mark. It's a bummer.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you saying?
I'm on a topic I care more about. I guess we were just saying that there's other than what? Let's go through it. WandaVision, Loki season 1, Agatha maybe, and some of the specials that you're talking about, and Wonder Man. It's not like a legacy necessarily to be that proud of. I do think I do wonder if this will also affect. There's rumors that it will. It seemed to me that they found something smart with the Daredevil series in that it is a ongoing television show.
Well, this is where I wanted to go with this because, I'm very interested in the ongoing debate of movies versus TV and like what kind of holds the consciousness captive holds like the masses captive in terms of like interest, in terms of not only following along with whatever industry and being up on like movies or shows that are coming out, but just where people seem to be deriving the most satisfaction. And I think unquestionably it seems to be, in a way, it seems to be movies this year, right? Like people seem to be going in droves, enjoying monocultural events and then talking about them for weeks on end.
I believe this tracks with your year being on The Big Picture.
I think also there is something weird going on where I think there is a little bit of a TV's lost its way kind of vibe happening. I do think that this has been a year where I've been like more surprised when a show is just good. You know? Where, like I'm like almost like, oh, a good TV show. Well, how about that? We can still do that, huh? Because we've seen so many things that I feel like are like, holy shit, you guys put this up on a surface? Like, you guys thought this was done? Like,
yes, I agree with that. I mean, I think that, again, there's like, if we're going macro, I think there's the development of things, not everything and not at every place, but development is in a very weird place.
Yes.
And all you have to do to look at that is look at exactly like some things that made it to air and some things that get canceled or don't even make it that far.
Well, you know, honestly,
I agree with that.
We can throw an idea in here right now.
Okay.
Which is the Shards, which I have not checked out yet, but you've watched the first two. A fascinating story where it was in development at HBO for a long time, right? After Bret Easton Ellis released it both as an audio experience and then as a novel.
Right? Yeah. And I believe Luca Guadagnino was attached.
I'm not even. I do know that Easton Ellis was being sort of prioritized as like the creative fulcrum of the show, and that he had written the first couple of scripts, but then that relationship seemed to have fallen apart, according to Hollywood Reporter and other places you can read.
I mean, and the last 40 years of Bret Ellis's, like a writer who I really like, but he has had a bumpy relationship with adaptation and with Hollywood.
And this is a how would you describe the novel? You like actually.
Yeah, it is a really interesting exercise in kind of meta autofiction in which it is at once a memoir of the main character, Bret Ellis, who is also the main character of Lunar Park and is basically the main character of most of his books, sometimes under different names, living in Los Angeles, going to high school in 1981.
In the Valley, right?
And going to, and being in a very rich, fast-moving world, going to Buckley School with his friends, glamorous friends, and children of Hollywood, and writing Less Than Zero by night. And in a love triangle and sort of exploring his own nascent sexuality and talking about going to school on the East Coast, which he would then do, and that would become Rules of Attraction. But in the Shards, all of this is set to the backdrop of a particularly vicious serial killer in an era in which serial killers were quite a thing.
So the Shards as a TV show gets picked up, the rights, or I don't know how it gets transferred, but Ryan Murphy to the rescue, comes in, picks up this project that had fallen apart at HBO, brings it over to FX, where he has a longstanding deal, and where he's returned to Disney from Netflix, correct?
Yes.
And shoots the first two Shards episodes as Ellis had written them, essentially, right? More or less.
From what we understand of this, yes. I mean, the first two scripts of the series are credited to Bret Easton Ellis and Ryan Murphy.
Okay.
And mostly track with the novel.
And Murphy directs?
Murphy directs the first two,
And then apparently after the second episode, it becomes a completely different show.
Yes. Now, we are talking about this at a time when I believe the third episode and fourth episode maybe just went up. I'm not caught up through them.
I'm just basing this off of reviews that were like, starts good, then it goes crazy.
I mean, and to be honest, I guess we probably should do a weird loop-to-loop where we come back to previewing Lanterns or why it is or isn't.
I'll get there. And this is
part of this.
We're just two guys talking.
Come on. I find this fascinating.
And it may look like I don't have my hands on the steering wheel.
But?
I do. It's just like I'm right here.
I thought this was a Waymo and you were just sitting in the front seat. I think we all know Kaya has the real controls.
Me describing to a Waymo what happens in the second half of the first episode of Lioness. Honestly, Waymo would probably see a lot of himself in that episode.
Well, God, don't. See, now you keep teasing me with tangents. I'm trying to stay focused today. I find the Shards thing totally fascinating for two reasons. One, purely personal reason. Like I said last week, I like Bret Easton Ellis books. I like this era of Los Angeles storytelling, and it is absolutely a beautiful looking production. And I think Ryan Murphy, look, we've litigated my feelings about him as a creator and artist, but he is an absolutely talented director. And when he locks into something, when it vibes with his own aesthetic, maybe this is true of any director, but I feel very strongly about saying this about him, it can elevate. And I think his terroir, if you will, is kind of trashy Los Angeles in all of its forms, high to low. And so this is perfect for him. And he has a cast of beautiful people, and needle drops are great. And there's some really cool framing shots, and there's, angular minimalist food on big white plates, and everybody's drinking and doing cocaine. And so this seems like fun.
Sure.
The reason I'm interested in is exactly what you're saying, because the question that needs to be asked at some point, but rarely gets asked when there are either network or company mandates or the whims and desires of a superpowered producer or creator, in this case of Ryan Murphy, is, but why are we making this? And I want to be clear. I'm not doing a thing that I think people...
Like, who needed this?
I'm not saying that, although I think there's a reason to say that in some cases. But I'm not saying that here. I'm saying specifically at the heart of this, why are we making this? And particularly with period pieces, I think that question is worth asking, because you can do it a multitude of ways, but I would reduce it to broadly two. One is we are point of view adrift with the characters, not in period, but in their present. And we are attuned to the universality of their humanity, no matter what the era is and whether they have cell phones or not. And so you're living inside of the moment, and that's a beautiful thing. And so, you could take Mad Men or something as an example of that. Obviously, it has something to say about who we are now. It's being made now, but the entire show isn't about wink, wink. We actually had to call people on the landline. You know what I mean?
No.
The other way to do it would be to take a period of time that is deeply understood culturally, emotionally, politically as one thing, and comment on it and hold it up as a mirror or as a cracked window or whatever you want to do. The issue with the Shards is through the first two episodes is that it is very, very, very excited to transpose the book to the screen.
Sure. Because Bret Easton Ellis wrote the first two episodes.
Because Bret Easton Ellis wrote the first two episodes, and you can tell that Ryan Murphy, who has a reputation for being, for having very strong points of view, is clearly a big fan, which is actually sort of sweet. So he's bringing Ellis's 80s to life better than maybe anyone else ever has, but without, I would say, the being a teenager in college is hard universality of rules of attraction, and certainly without the acerbic, looking backwards wit of Mary Harron's American Psycho. So it is totally flat with voiceover in which the main character, Bret, says things like, back then we didn't have social media, we had serial killers. So it feels like an incredible pantomime show.
You have to choose.
You have to choose. I think we're doing okay. Do you know what I mean? And so I found that kind of frustrating, even though the second episode I think is even stronger than the first, because, and by the way, I have to call you to account for this too. This is not just a one-way thing. As a decades-long Wes Bentley completist, he's doing good work here. He's doing very good work here. In the course of one modernist, minimalist lunch with Bret, Wes smokes, I believe, 13 cigarettes and has 5 different forms of alcoholic beverages. And I don't know if it's intentional or just sloppy editing, but I believe he has white wine, red wine, a martini, a glass of brown liquor, and I want to say a cocktail of a fruited cocktail of some kind.
I would go martini, white, red, brown liquor if I wanted to put myself in a body bag anyway. But
you can still get after it. Look at you.
I mean, that's an astonishing run.
Yeah, but and this is all over a course of lunch where there's just like 3 cubes of salmon, and he's like, "This is the only restaurant in LA that serves tartare, Bret. You'll love it." So, have I sold you on the show yet?
I mean, it sounds entertaining.
But all of this is to say, it is just this slavishly devoted thing that is kind of nothing all at once. And so I'm really interested, though, to hear this reporting that after 2, it goes fucking full Gaga Murphy-verse and apparently is built to run multiple seasons, which is in no way what this project would seem to be. But I don't even want to say
really
what
smart. Murphy's going to make this into the cocaine 80s, FX's Euphoria.
Yeah.
Like
if it gets
teen
there,
universe, right?
If it gets
just
there.
like American Crime Story and American Horror Story. And yeah.
If it gets there, that's actually not a bad play. But it's kind of, in a weird way, now we're all over the place, but having this conversation makes me think a little bit of what we were saying last week about how FX gave adults a do-over on the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a way, you almost wish Ryan Murphy was making his own American Bret Easton Ellis story show.
Sure.
Where he could just make it up as he went along.
Sure.
But I don't know.
Well, Bret Easton Ellis is no longer on the project. He's very vocally like, I break up with
I think he's
TV
very
now.
not vocal. He said that, and then he hasn't said a single thing else.
The reason why I brought the Shards up, the reason why I brought that development story up is the same reason why we're talking about these superhero shows, because they often are serving a lot of different purposes and they have a lot of different masters.
Mm-hmm.
There is the larger thing that the auteur-in-chief at one of these labels wants to have, Feige, James Gunn. There's a super story that they want to tell, whether it's phased, whether it's thematic. They have an idea of what they want to do. Then there are players from networks, from production companies, characters who have become indelible. Those stars start to have a little bit more say on what Hulk would or wouldn't do or whatever. The fascinating thing about this Lanterns show is that Greg Berlanti, who had basically been off on his own with 20 shows on the air.
The hardest working man at Warner Brothers.
At the CW, right?
Well, he worked for Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Many of his shows were on the CW.
And was running essentially the Arrowverse, which was like his version of the DC TV universe. And had, I think, 6 or 7 shows, 8 shows on the air at any given moment. Would do these massive crossovers.
Yeah, he did Crisis of Infinite Earths on CW shows.
Yes. And had been working on Lantern show for a while. And in this article that I believe it's Leslie Goldberg on Ankler wrote, which is just talking about the production or the development process of this story, he talks about the clashes that he was having with Warner Brothers Television, where it came to, they were looking for something more grounded. They wanted a more grounded treatment of this. Like, I think they were looking to make something sounds like closer to Watchmen.
Yep.
Or something closer to True Detective. And he was just like, that's not what I'm interested in when it comes to this story.
Now, please excuse me, there's a Scooby-Doo live action reboot.
Well, and then they got Damon Lindelof, who did Watchmen, and they got, Chris Mundy, who made Ozark. And they've made this new Lantern show, which I can't wait to watch.
Yeah.
But is a fascinating, long, kind of winding way to get to our screens on Sunday night.
But I think the thing that you can hopefully point to for the shows that succeed is an early answer to the question, not who are we making this for? Why are we making this? What is someone, generally the showrunner or creator or lead writer or whatever you want to call it, what is that person passionate about? And can we then get other people on board and all row in the same direction to make the best version of it? You can't do it solely because you want to tick the box of having that character represented, or you want to try to push into television or have complementary whatever. The reporting that I've read suggests that the first person to sort of raise his hand and say, this is what I want to do with this, it was Tom King, who is in many ways the least known of that troika, but is a brilliant comic book writer and also former CIA analyst. And I feel like that would make him a really good guest for us at some point in the future, if it won't all be redacted. But I think I'm as interested in his point of view on the show as I am in the gentle corporate nudgings that put 3 very strong-minded creators together and by all accounts create a very, very happy, additive, expansive creative process. Now, I think we and audiences will be able to tell that. I haven't watched the pilot yet, but I'm very excited to. But ultimately, it comes down to the fact that even though at some point during this process, James Gunn and Peter Safran took over. At some point in the process, they checked in on this, and whatever was said back to them or whatever scripts they read passed muster with Gunn's stated intention to have a diverse slate of different types of stories. I say reported intention because he has said that publicly, but also kind of until this moment, we haven't really seen the proof of it because we've just seen Superman and the very gun-pilled Supergirl.
Yes, and since he has taken over, there's obviously been the Paramount Warner Brothers merger, which is now in sort of limbo.
Yeah.
But it's incredibly difficult to pull something that's like a multi-year storytelling project off when you've also got the winds of change blowing in the industry itself.
It's very,
whether
very
it's mergers
rickety.
and acquisitions or whether it's technological developments.
But so I, for the same reasons that I thought it was interesting to watch the Reynaldo Marcus Green directed Punisher one shot and then see Bernthal do a different version of the same character in Spider-Man, seeing Nathan Fillion do Guy Gardner in this series, which I would imagine, this is not reported, no one has said this to me, but I imagine that when Tom King was like, yeah, I'll do this as a grounded version, at no point was he like, and Guy Gardner will also show up, played by known comedic, charismatic presence, Nathan Fillion.
That's James Gunn's dude.
Yeah, here we are. But like, look, if the end game of all of this, despite like some personal, again, like some things that I'm pissed off about getting canceled or I wish we had, if the end result of this, after many, many, many years and many, many wasted millions, is a more streamlined process in which only the things that really have that spark or fire make it to air, I think it's a win.
Sure.
Because best case scenario here, you get, now you and I didn't love Penguin, but I think we were in the minority. And I think the majority of HBO Max subscribers felt that the Penguin with Colin Farrell
Emmy noms,
was a worthwhile inheritor of the Sunday. Like, this is HBO. We understand why this is HBO. So there's a reason for this. And I think similarly, Lanterns looks to be in that category as well, which is great.
But crazily enough, no second season of the Penguin yet.
Well, but again, I think that's
not even.
But I think that's another good, for me. That's a good outcome, and I'm not saying because I didn't like the show, and I'm certainly not saying it because I don't want the talented people who worked on it to work. I'm saying that if they successfully told a story about this character that worked, I think it's like with the Mayor of Easttown thing, where like we would fucking love more seasons of that show, but my sense is the people involved at the time were like, but why would we mess with something that worked? It worked. We did it. We told a story, and we don't say enough of that. Separate and apart from the fact that, I mean, I don't know if Colin Farrell wants to put that makeup on again. But,
I don't know either. Yeah.
But look, and by the way, just inside or behind, not even inside baseball, like up where Brad Pitt sat in the Moneyball movies when he wouldn't actually watch the game. I say this as someone.
He sat in the gym, actually.
Well, he didn't sit. He was working.
He was lifting. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was getting at.
Oh, okay. But that's down. Like you were like up in the seats where he's sitting like he's in the suites. That's not what he was doing.
No. Just like you.
Personal best. Yeah.
I mean, I say this as someone who is actively and has been working on a Warner Brothers HBO show that has IP, and I will say that that's not my project and not my show, but like this is a valid and living conversation.
Yeah.
Of like, what is the best reason to be doing this?
I think what I'm most fascinated by all of this, and we can get on to Furious now, but what fascinates me most, and maybe it's a good segue because I think one of the things I like about Furious so much is it's just a very, very well thought out TV show.
It's such a good TV show.
Is we made a great grand swing of this kind of hybrid theatrical televisual storytelling model, both in terms of limited series, anthology series, bringing big screen genre to the small screen, even though many people don't make that distinction anymore. But whether it's Rings of Power or take your pick of any of the super expensive sci-fi shows that have come and gone over the last couple of years, or these very, very highly valuable properties like Star Wars, Marvel, and DC. And sometimes in the back of my head, I'm like, maybe Greg Berlanti had it right. Like the way,
because he just made a TV show.
Yeah, because he just knew how to, like, he knew that there was a 1-to-1 relationship between flipping through an issue of a comic book and getting through a 42-minute television show that had some commercials, and that there was a transactional nature and a fun, like, cool, my story's on kind of relationship people could have, and it didn't have this like, fuck, I have to watch the post-credit sequence of Ironheart to understand what's happening on this movie coming out in 2 years, maybe, like,
because of Mephisto.
That's right. I was trying to tell everybody, but everybody's like, Boyle cried wolf, and then he showed up.
Yeah. Then he fucking showed up. And he was the devil.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll do Furious. So we're going to be talking about Furious through episode 5. Episode 6 will be airing on Sunday. We haven't spoken about it. I think you had watched 2 when we first talked.
I'd watched all the ones that were up.
Okay,
which I
so
think
you
was
watched
3.
the first 3. I'd watched the first 3. And there's a lot of different places we can go with this. But the one thing I would ask is, as I've been watching this series, I've been thinking about other crime shows that I've loved over the last several years. And I was reminded of The Night Of, which is another series that I think is as interested in the consequences of crime and the reasons behind a crime and also the total cost across a community of people.
Yes.
And also had to, at some point in its run, like solve it. It has to, you can't just have, here's 6 episodes of a mystery that just befuddled people, Now, Furious is much different. It's not a whodunit. We know who's doing it. It's a matter of whether or not, like, what this person is doing, is she going to get caught doing it, essentially.
There's also a mystery within her own. She's also trying to solve a mystery. The criminal in this case.
Yes, especially since her memory is spotty and because, So I wanted to ask you whether or not you detected in the same way that I detected with The Night Of, with True Detective, with various other great crime shows from this era, the turn towards now we rather than world building and like alluding to things and really doing character moments, that we're turning towards a conspiracy that's being unraveled or what have you. And do you necessarily think that's a flaw or not?
I think it's a great question. I think my answer is no. And I think my answer is no because in the spirit of all really good, really exciting and compelling genre television, or genre at its best, what we're seeing is the work of a creator who is using a familiar rhythm to create an original melody and play it over the top of it. The thing about this show that I find dazzling is that it has a, like, just being on Hulu, just the way that it presented itself, like you can, the log line, it's going to attract eyeballs, I think, because true crime, sex crimes, like these things are the bread and butter, you were saying, of Netflix. Like this is a very tried and true investigative stuff. Like this is very tried and true television to get an audience. Knowing that you have that buy-in already, what Liz Merriweather has done with the show, I find so thrilling because every single scene, a choice is made in it, whether it's like dialogue, whether it's casting, whether it's stakes, that surprises me. Every scene is alive, where I think that generally when things make that turn or we notice the turn being made, what we're feeling is the feeling of, well, this driverless car at least knows the route. Do you know what I mean? This car has a fucking driver, and the driver has a personality, and the driver continues to do things that go against our expectations, such as, I mean, you could name half a dozen, throw them on the table, and we could talk about them. The fact that, for example, the Alden character and the fact that Catherine is a fairly attentive and caring professional nurse for this guy with this particular set of circumstances in relationship to her, I think that's introduced in episode 3.
Yeah.
Like that's a no-no from executives and from development.
Campbell
like,
Scott popping up in episode 4.
The great, and it's not just the character of the Campbell Scott. If you now that we're talking about through episode 5, we could talk about that. So in episode 4, Hope Davis's character, who we'd seen before, arrives with a lawyer who I don't believe we'd seen before.
No.
And it's played by a, Gen X hero, Campbell Scott. So instantly, I'm more interested. The casting, whether it's him or the actor, I'll call it up in a second, who plays Ed George. I'm like, I think that's his name, the ASAC at the FBI.
The person who had been working with Nora earlier in the decade on the case.
And the number one example is Nora herself, Quincy Bernstein's performance. Like, these are all really interesting performers that make you pay attention and are doing things that we're not expecting in every moment. But yeah, you bring him in and you see that she's doing something, that Catherine's doing something, but you don't realize she's hunting him and that he's going to be the focus of it. Like, there are these little bits of subterfuge that feel thrilling within the larger framework of the story. I would say the same thing for almost everything Alice does in relation to her abusers, played by Jake Lacey.
Marshall.
it's going to some really, really bold and very, I would say, risky from a storytelling perspective places with it, and going there unapologetically with no breaks.
Yeah, I think it's knowing, especially the sequence in which she essentially sets him up,
Yep.
right, is very knowingly depicted in the same fashion that Catherine's murders are depicted, where
Yep.
she is clocking this person, not monitoring their behavior, figuring out in advance what different things could happen, and is setting them up.
I mean, there are many ways in which, and I think we are not the ideal interlocutors of the idea that this is a very, very both feminist and very female created television show. But one of the things that the show is absolutely committed to that I love is making us as viewers and as male viewers understand that when Scoot McNairy's character, Danny Kelly, or what's his name, Rob Yang's character, Choi, sort of the hapless FBI agent, when they walk into rooms, they have very, very little to think about other than their job and maybe what they're getting for lunch. And when the women walk into rooms, instantly they have to think about 6 dozen things.
Sure.
Everything from physical proximity to past history to how they're being perceived and presented.
How they, like everything with Catherine or with Alice up until that Marshall moment, there's all this speculation of like, why does she have these bruises? Like,
Yes.
Because she's gotten willingly assaulted by a lover that she met on an internet application.
And everything.
Internet application.
She's really finger on the pulse there.
Can I join the CIA, Tom King? I've got the verbiage.
I've got a number of applications on my phone in addition to my CIA application. I just think that is such a subtle thing. And again, like that is folded into Emmy Rossum's performance as well, which I think has had surprising layers and reveals to it. And I think that, we'll see where else it has to go. But I think a potential criticism of the first episode would be, you could, and maybe I said this last week, I apologize, but like you almost could feel how much she prepared for this part of an FBI agent. Like I felt like she was showing us her work. By the time the second episode started, I realized that what we were seeing was Alice's public presentation of having done the work to be a different person now. And that there are actually layers to the performance and subtleties that I am only beginning to pick up on and appreciate. The other flip side of it is, and I wonder if you have analogies to this as well from other crime shows, just top of mind.
Sure.
But Catherine, played by Lola Pettigrew, it is no small thing, I think, that a villain, the murderer, who does awful, terrible shit, also is granted a full humanity. And it's not a full humanity in the sense, in the cheaper sense that shows often do, where maybe like in between murders, like they glance at a folded up picture of a family they once had. She does carry a folded up picture. It is not of that. And the tenderness with which she's able to access with Alden, is significant. The moments with Hal, the Campbell Scott character, where he is, desperate for his life, but also briefly, you can see him reclaim his masculinity in that scene where he's like, oh, she's just a broken little girl who wants to be complimented.
It is a casting stroke of genius.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you and I are probably in this weird like vocal minority of like Campbell Scott super fans or whatever.
Where it's like if the rewatchables had started 10 years earlier, you would have had a Campbell Scott take equal to the Luke Wilson take. Right?
Yeah, I can't even think of what it should be because he is an actor who he does things I don't think you can necessarily teach or scout. Like the reason that scene works is because of the tenor of his voice. And he's had that tenor of his voice going back to like Singles and Dying Young, but it's that warmth and that sensitivity that even though this guy is Jay Easton's attorney who was brought in to clean up a murder scene.
Yep.
He does sound paternally, genuinely interested in Catherine. Now, he's also a lawyer, so I imagine there is, as we see with his fate, like there's a degree to which it's manipulation and there's a degree to which, and I think that that's kind of what's really cool about this show is that there can be these very sincere emotional moments between Alden and Catherine, between Catherine and Rob Delaney's character's daughter, between even Alice and Marshall, there is a moment, but that moment is not the only thing that's happening in that scene. Like what's also happening is this person is being pushed to get something that the other character wants from them.
This is the thing that I think is really impressive and again, kind of hard to articulate. Tried last week. The show is so deeply about trauma and how we live post-trauma, but it contains the imagination and the creative space to show a world in which trauma exists. To show a world in which life exists before, during, and after traumatic incidents, so that it doesn't feel any necessity to hold our hand about how to feel about Marshall. It allows the space for Alice to show us through word and emotion and deed and performance what this person meant to her in her life, and then what happened, which only serves the drama in the sense that it compounds how hideously violating and violent and awful what happened was, because we understand the circumstances that as a larger story.
It's also very confrontational with the audience, which I really appreciate.
Yeah,
because
it definitely is.
The audience for these kinds of shows, I include myself in that audience, are I don't know. We're kind of animals. Like, you know, like, why am I watching this stuff as much as I do? And I talk about that with Lioness. Like, it's probably not good for the soul to be so interested in the darkest parts of humanity.
I actually have that written in my notes, but I was going to say it to you as a cautionary tale. I was going to actually be like an intervention.
But, you know, this fascinating aspect of Merriweather brings you into scenes and you are like, I kind of know where this is going. Yeah. And I feel weird about watching it. You know, I feel weird watching Catherine, like, I know what's going to happen to Hal. I know what's going to happen to Marshall. I know, you know, what's going to happen to these people. And like the worldview of this show is such that I think it's like you have to basically behave in these certain ways to survive.
Right.
But I find it very confrontational in a very refreshing way, while never not entertaining and never not provocative. I'm trying to think of how it would be handled. I mean, God, you know, I don't know how a man would have made this show, but I'm trying to think of like how different storytellers would have handled just the central like mystery, which there isn't, but like the procedural element of it, and whether or not certain things like Nora's involvement in the 2012 murder.
I mean, that's always, I mean, that isn't, to your point about like, that's an old piece of story. That's like an old pipe that fit into this. The idea that she is somehow complicit and this is her past and her own failings and all of that, and it's going to be a trauma for her. What's interesting is the character of Nora and Quincy Tyler Bernstein casting. I mean, we should, for the purposes of like ongoing bits, which I know we need more of, we need like we could call them the Akram All-Stars after the guy in Department Q, where it's just like a single casting choice on a secondary character not only elevates the show, but makes us fall completely in love with the performer and want more. And she is so in that
You're
zone.
Totally right. There are multiple scenes where I would love to know if I'm right about this. I feel like you can see Emmy Rossum being like, holy shit, while she's acting with her.
Yes, and like a fan of it, like into it.
Yeah.
I think I want to be careful about this statement because I think we all remember the film This Is 40. But generally, I do want to encourage more comedians and comic writers to branch out of their genre ghetto.
Yeah.
Because this is seize weapons once. But like, I am definitely going to like, and also the Jordan Peele movies. Like, I do think that there is something to this thing that we've talked about repeatedly ad nauseum, that like comedy writers pivoting to horror. Like, this is Liz Merriweather's like magnum opus in a completely different field than New Girl. You know, it's wild to me. And it's clearly done with love and affection for the genre, which hopefully, you know, I hope we get to talk to her about that specifically. But this show, I mean, I understand people checking it out and maybe your mileage may vary about the subject matter or the way that it's presented or, you know, some of maybe you get tripped up on the tropes that we're saying are actually not what you're supposed to. That's not the view. That's just the drive. But like, the reason I'm so fired up about it and I cannot wait to watch the next episode is because of the spirit of it is so creatively surprising. Scene to scene, moment to moment. The actor I was going to say, Danny McCarthy, plays ASAC Ed George. And just like, again, there are, I'm sure the casting director, we should probably get the name of and shout out. I'm sure there were 20 incredibly capable actors who could have played that part and been like, this is a small part, but I get it. He's bringing something that makes him every time he's on the screen.
It's funny to imagine that guy leading a health and wellness.
Yes. Well, right. It's given, again, it's the writing is giving him, the character is written to have some surprise built in, but just the way that he smiles, the way that he shut her down in the elevator, the way that she's long gaming to upend him is like, it's delightful to watch. There's a lot of cat and mouse games inside of the larger cat and mouse game.
Anything else you wanted to hit about this?
I love it. I don't know. I feel like I'm just a broken record at this point.
Would you say after this many episodes, it's in your top 5, top 3?
Yes.
Yeah. You're a recency baby.
That is 100% true. Have you seen Weapons? It's quite good. Might even get some Oscar buzz.
We've been podcasting for about an hour and 5 minutes.
Okay.
We covered the world of television and movies and this industry and technology in totality. Yeah. And we've talked in depth about Furious. I hope people feel like we talked in depth about it.
Well, we were kind of thrown by timing, but now we will pick it up whether, I don't know if is it a Monday or a Thursday show for us?
It'll be a Monday show. So we'll talk about Lanterns and we'll talk about episode 6 of Furious on Monday.
Great.
But for now, I'd like the lights to come down just a little bit.
Oh, brother. Okay.
Let's get inside the cage.
Did you plan this lighting?
It's a lion, but it's a lady.
In the cage with me. Uh-huh.
I can only be who I am.
This is good. We should begin with this is like a AA meeting. Begin with a mea culpa.
My name's Chris.
Yeah.
And I'm an alcoholic for Zoe Saldana lifting weights and listening to the news and then saying pop smoke and going to Ukraine and arresting or kidnapping a Russian agent who had like a little tracker in his armpit that they cut out.
Yeah.
How far did you get into this first episode? There's 2 up, but we're going to talk broadly about the 3rd season of Lioness here.
Yeah, first of all...
Did you get to the dogs?
I love you and I respect your choices. And I think one of the keys to a healthy relationship, professional, personal, otherwise, is to give each other space, to pursue your own passions.
Yeah.
Without free of judgment. Unfortunately, this is a critical podcast, so that last part, I don't know if I can make good on.
I just wanted, did you get to the dogs?
I didn't get to the dogs. I think I made it
just as well, then.
A bunch of people. I made it to a bunch of people shooting heavy caliber munitions at and under drones in Ukraine.
Yeah.
And then I was like, honestly, I'm 49 years old.
Well,
how much time do I have left?
I'm 48. So maybe that's probably like,
get to me
like a younger kind of guy.
That's the secret sauce of all podcasts. You know what I mean? Peanut butter and jelly, like 2 different generational perspectives. Let's talk in November and we'll see. There's a scene early on in this when Nicole Kidman, who's on this television show
with Martin Donovan, who starred in multiple Hal Hartley movies and the film Tenet
as her husband.
Yeah. The trades.
Yeah. They are having a light breakfast.
Al fresco,
lovely. DC, the district is wonderful that time of year. I'm sure they're
Virginia,
safely in Virginia.
Yeah.
I don't think the novels of George Pelecanos are occurring just beyond their 6 acres.
Triple Funk is playing right there.
Like, if only. The U Street corridor popping off. Young Joe House, a contemporary Joe House. Just down the street. They are having breakfast and Nicole is just staring at a hard copy of the Gray Lady, the New York Times.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm just going to do it.
It says the end of democracy is
trust
a
and
giant
verify.
Headline in the New York Times.
And the picture is like some clouds because like some smoke, like someone has thrown some sort of smoke bomb, be it a Antifa warrior or 90s era Batman. Unclear. Either way, really, what's the difference, dog? That's why the DCU's off TV. The ideas are too crazy. It says the end of democracy. Martin Donovan then gives a stirring monologue, which now I want you to fact check me because as mentioned, I did have a cocktail yesterday. So maybe
did you watch this after the cocktail?
I think they were connected.
Okay.
In retrospect, I would have reversed it and had the drink after. But I believe he begins a monologue about how the greatest investor in America's universities are the Chinese.
Foreign nations.
Foreign nations. So is it any wonder that the students of these universities now espouse communist-leaning philosophies?
I don't know that he used the C word.
He says communism.
Oh, he does? Okay.
He 100% does.
Okay.
And he's like...
well, Taylor Sheridan, ahead of the curve again.
I know. And then he's like, so of course these reporters, think that they're onto something when in fact, clearly they just all he doesn't say this part, but essentially they are marching to their own little red book.
Institutions funded by foreign governments that have indoctrinated them to hate the country that they live in.
Yes. And then he's
That's just one POV.
No, but this is my favorite part, is his version of the David Ellison op-ed, where he's just like, I just call balls and strikes and like to make movies, is he's like, so anyone who went to college in America or works in journalism is a fucking dirty red.
He doesn't say that, though.
No, let me finish. He's like, that said, the real existential enemy is AI. And then the scene ends.
Yeah. No, the
scene
ends.
And then it's like, you can't guess. Which is it? Which is bad?
The scene ends.
Yeah, I know, because she gets black bagged in her Suburban.
Yeah. And then 6 months earlier, we go back.
And again, it does the thing. One of the other things I respect about Taylor Sheridan is, obviously his politics keep you guessing.
They do.
Wow.
Though. They do.
Two, he is, we're like, well, he's immune to notes. He's also immune to industry trends because no one made it to the 666's ranch or whatever and was like, sir, tears in their eyes. Audiences are turning against the 6 months earlier conceit.
Right.
So he does that, and then we're off to the races. Look, I just think we all have to express ourselves in different ways. And so maybe this is our podcast version of On the Italian Job Rewatchables when Van eloquently spoke about a porn adaptation of The Italian Job.
That he had imagined.
That he had imagined down to he cast it.
Yes.
He had visions.
Neapolitan crime families warring with sex acts. Yes.
Him talking about that in the way that satisfies his basest urges is kind of, and the face you made is kind of the face I'm making when you watch this show. Because I'm willing to look, the lights have changed.
We're not going to talk about, I think, to be completely honest with you, if I want to talk about Lioness.
You have some 4chan groups that
I think that Van will probably be joining me because Van has called me 7 times in the last 2 weeks and told me that I'm actually a coward because I hadn't caught up yet because I was on vacation.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, man, when we get a foothold on the front in Ukraine, we can talk about it. I want to see what this is about. Let me tell you something because I can't believe you quit watching because I think you missed something.
Small point. If there's any way we could do a hard cut and just start the pod, just cut away to you, and then Van is sitting here wearing a tasteful shacket with 3 drinks, the hardest of which is a day-old green tea, and you just continue the conversation, that's gold.
I just want to tell you about one thing that happens in this episode.
Please, yeah.
So obviously, here's the recap of the first episode. Jo lifts weights, takes a shower. Her husband tries to join her in the shower.
But guess what?
It's cold.
It's cold.
And he's like, it's so cold. And she's like, it's good for inflammation.
Yeah.
And he's like, so's Advil. And she's like, I want my body to do it, not a pill.
I mean,
open your third eye, brother. You don't know.
That's how I feel about anxiety, but please continue.
And then it turns out that, a Russian agent is being offered up to them.
It turns out somehow a Russian agent has returned. Go on.
Did you see the scene where the Lioness crew goes to Georgetown?
Yes.
And they all exercise?
Yeah, and they're all pretending to be and then the best part is, they're like, guess we're going to Ukraine. They're like, shit.
Yeah.
Guess I picked the wrong day to...
When they get to Ukraine, this is probably where you turned it off because they're running to the house and there's all these drones above them.
There were a lot of drones, yeah.
And they get to a cabin and they go down to a bunch of sublevels and then they get there and there's a bunch of CIA people, a bunch of Army people, U.S. based. And it's like, well, who's going to lead this expedition? Because we're not going to use Joe's team. They're not trained in trench warfare, drone warfare. Who's going to lead us? It's Taylor Sheridan.
I had heard this.
It's Cody.
I actually had heard this, and I think that may be a reason why I looked away.
And he becomes then the central character of the second half of the first episode of the 3rd season of Lioness.
Great.
And
do you think
he leads a team of Delta guys with German Shepherds who eat fucking Russians?
How do you
and North Koreans? It's fucking disgusting.
So you train them specifically? So you have like racist dogs to begin with.
They are German Shepherds. I mean,
that's true. That's true. 100%. Yeah. That's true.
It's not like they were like, how did you make this teddy bear?
How did you take this fucking doodle, this golden doodle, and make him?
One of the dogs doesn't make it though.
Aww.
Back. Yeah. And the breeder is quite upset.
Yeah, I know, because you know how much hate speech they have to filter into the kennel.
I don't know what to say.
Can I ask you another question? Can I ask you another question?
When I watch lots of shows, I'm like, how long have I been sitting in front of this TV? It has to have been 2 hours, and it's like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And with Lioness, like time flies by. Like I am engaged. I'm leaning in. You know, I come to this place.
You're leaning in one direction for sure. I think it's a little bit to the.
This is the thing is, I can separate the art and the artist.
It's beautiful.
I'm sorry.
I guess that makes you the asshole. First of all, I would love to know the background of Taylor Sheridan being cast in that part, where like they did an exhaustive search.
There was no background. He's like, I'm playing Cody.
I know. I'm just saying that. Can you imagine though? They're like, we've done an exhaustive search of the nation's jarheads, and like we just can't find anyone with the moral conviction.
Veterans could read.
No,
4 lines.
And he's just like, fine, I'll come off the sidelines to do this. I genuinely, I was trying to come up with a way to talk to you about this that would preserve our friendship, but also that would not be just negativity.
You can't,
no, I know.
You can't scare me.
But there's also like, genuinely, the headlines of our Landman coverage is often like, what the fuck? But every so often, there are moments of bizarre, either it's just like perceptiveness or local color or some sense of a world that we haven't seen before he gets distracted.
Oh, you spent a lot of time on the front lines of Ukraine? That's a world you've seen before?
Seen it all before, brother. Every morning, I have breakfast outside and pour over the war coverage in the failing New York Times. People point to, fairly, his, like, he can keep you guessing. Like, his worldview and the things that he feels strongly about don't necessarily fit neatly into one tribe or the other. And he loves pushing those buttons. And I think the college roommate being a big example of that in the last season of Landman.
Yeah.
I think the problem I have with his shows, and this is genuinely a problem with Landman, is that he always, whether he believes this or not, he always defaults to a complete credulity and faith in the most either rich in the case of Landman or the most powerful in the case of Lioness. And like the full like armament and awe and majesty and destructive power of the United States government if they were just finally, if the woke handcuffs came off.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I find that really boring because the thing about Landman is like the dude, like the chief boss and like the scene where like they have the barbecue and like they all show up, like he's showing people who do a really fucking gnarly job for a living. And most shows are not interested in that.
Right.
But the show can't help itself by being like, ultimately what I'm interested in is the rich guy it's going to work out for him and he's going to get richer and his wife's going to be able to go shopping on a private jet. That bums me out. And so the thing with this show too is like, I just wish it had a little more curiosity about the cracks in the world as opposed to being like, you fucking sheeple don't get it. We need this.
I don't really know if I need it to do that.
Because
I think I
know
find
I'm trying
it
to
more
put
I think I find it more broadly entertaining to watch a highly violent Tom Clancy
thing. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm trying to put like a British barrister wig on
You're
peak
fine.
era Stallone.
I'm not going to make you watch this. This is not going to be a running bit on the show. I do think that for whatever it's worth, at the end of the episode when they get done with this incredibly violent like exercise in Ukraine, they're like, this is way beyond like our comprehension of what warfare is supposed to be. Like, and at one point, like one of the characters is like, these guys, it's like World War I meets Star Wars here because it's all of like these drones and robotic armaments, but it's also people like running in trenches. And it's like, so it's like whether or not it's a realistic depiction of that combat theater, I have no idea.
I do. I would say it gets at about 60%, right?
Okay. Anyway, every once in a while, maybe I'll check in, but you know, Van and I will get in the cage together next time.
What are Van's other, like, where else is he going to take the show when he replaces me?
I mean, Van's very busy. I can't overly leverage him, you know, like I need you around a little.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming off the bench for some like high-minded, like, well, Drops of God season 3 is back. Let me tell you my porn parody of that.
Well, Hal Jordan historically is like this.
Is that me? It's good. It's good. Canonically, it's inaccurate, but I'm willing to make excuses.
Look, you know about two things. The Ukrainian front, Green Lantern. That's why you're valuable to me. No, come on. You're my guy.
Oh,
Whatever. We take this show together.
Yeah.
It's a Waymo with 2 wheels. You know?
So it's a Waymo bicycle? Except I'm on the front like Titanic.
When I was in Portland the other week, a couple rode by me on a tandem bike, both wearing N95 masks. And I was like,
Did you have anything to say?
no.
Did you tell them about Woke One?
No. I was just sitting in my Honda, rented.
Because you like to be able to move at any time.
You never know when then the Russians are going to buy back.
No, I get it.
I don't even know why I told that.
You're just watching those people on bikes being like, I bet you think dogs aren't prejudiced. Must be nice. You know who defends that freedom for you? Fucking lionesses. You just walk around just shaking your head being like, these people have no idea.
They have no idea what Zoe Saldana has done for them.
Their $30 sandwiches.
Yeah. Their
fucking orange wines.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
I can move between spaces there, you know?
No, this is why you are ultimately electable. You know what I mean? Like you could play in both worlds. Like you may lean that way, but you didn't endorse Francesca Hahn.
That's why I froze my eggs, just to sort of, like, you never know what my future is going to be.
Beautiful eggs.
Thanks to Kaya, Kai, and Sarah.
That's part of your pitch for the male reboot of Furious.
Yeah.
I've got some notes.
I didn't say that. I said, God forbid a guy had made that.
God forbid. Sounds a little... You protest a little much. Oh, no.
Pod's over.
Furious, but for him. Who says no?